The White House once again became the stage for a dramatic announcement, one that blended politics, diplomacy and controversy into a single afternoon. Cameras rolled as President Donald Trump signed an executive order, flanked by his senior defense officials, before turning to a second matter that immediately set Washington buzzing: his decision to host the 2026 G20 summit at his own Miami Gulf resort. The dual announcements captured both Trump's taste for spectacle and his instinct for disruption. To some, they highlighted a leader determined to project strength and independence. To others, they reignited familiar debates about ethics, conflicts of interest, and the global perception of America under Trump's leadership. The event began with the president at his desk in the Oval Office, surrounded by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane. With a flourish of his pen, Trump signed an executive order renaming the Department of Defense as the Department of War. The cameras captured every angle: the wide shots of Trump seated at the resolute desk, the close-ups of his hand moving across the paper, and the deliberate pauses as he held up the signed document for reporters to see. The message was unmistakable. This was more than just semantics. It was Trump reshaping the language of America's military identity. Observers noted that such a move, while symbolic, carried weight. The Department of Defense label, in use since 1949, reflected a post-World War II vision of America as a stabilizing power. By reviving the old Department of War terminology, Trump signaled a different posture: unapologetically aggressive, unafraid to emphasize force over diplomacy. Standing nearby, Secretary Hegseth and General Kane projected loyalty as journalists scribbled notes and cameras clicked. For critics, the renaming seemed to echo a broader trend: the militarization of American rhetoric. For Trump's supporters, it was a return to honest language that fit his combative worldview. If the Pentagon renaming was provocative, what followed was explosive. Shifting from military policy to international diplomacy, Trump announced that the 2026 G20 summit would be held at his own property, the Trump National Doral in Miami. The words carried an air of déjà vu. During his first administration, Trump had floated the idea of hosting the G7 at Doral, only to abandon it under a firestorm of accusations of corruption and self-dealing. Now, years later and back in the Oval Office, he was reviving the idea with full force. Donald Trump said, "It's going to be at Doral." The blunt declaration immediately raised eyebrows. Legal scholars, ethics watchdogs, and opposition politicians began sharpening their critiques even before the press conference ended. Yet Trump, visibly confident, leaned into his reasoning.